So Amrita, that was beautiful what you just described about the pain and how people have been dealing with it in your book, and which is so synonymous with the way we all deal with it in our lives. And so another thing which strikes out for me in the book when I read it is how you've dealt with the mundane, the vagaries as such of life. And you talk about skin and how important it is for girls at every stage, be it 16, be it 20s, be it 30s, this skin and all the ordinary mundane things in life. And the way you just talk about, yeah, the mother was doing this and this and this, and then Mishti happened, and then this and this, and life goes on, and such is life. So that's one of a very kind of recurrent theme also in your book. Would you like to talk a little bit about it?
I'm glad you pointed out on the skin aspect. I think it's not just teenager or 20s, 30s. I think people in their 60s also have the same issue. They want flawless skin, and that's why all the skin products are such a hit. That aside, I think while we wait for life to get interesting and we constantly maybe endeavor towards it, life is happening every second. Right. So, what we fail to understand is in our constant strive towards maybe a betterment of life in whatever aspect, spiritual, emotional, materialistic, life has its own plan, and that's where destiny comes in. The power of destiny is something that I have spoken about a lot in the book. And what is interesting to find out is the difference between what is destined and what is destiny. There is a subtle difference between the two, destiny and destined. And I hope that by the time the readers reach the end of it, they'll be able to figure out the difference. So yeah.
Wow, that's another deep thought you just expressed. I mean, the more I talk to you, the more depth I discover in your book, Amrita. But speaking of destiny, that destiny is also kind of a recurrent thing that we speak about in our scriptures. And scriptures is something you've really, really talked about in your book as well. There's a lot of references in mythology and influences from there, and I think they're fantastic, and again they are just as detailed as everything else in the book. So yeah, tell us more about your dabbles with the mythology.
I think Indian mythology is one of the most interesting scriptures ever written. Of course, there are several other scriptures as well. But why I think it's very interesting because what was written centuries back still hold true today. And if you just draw a parallel and try to induce it in our life today, in today's context, it's still as relevant. Maybe when we read Mahabharata and Ramayana, we think, oh, those are centuries back. Is it still relevant? I truly believe it is. I experience it almost, very frequently in different formats of life. And I would love to quote the aspect of Mahabharata which stood out for me. And I think I heard this probably 30 years back. And it's still very close to my heart. So yeah, Sumedha, bear with me. This is going to be like a slightly longish read. It is a sad and painful story. Shakuni, as you already know, was Gandhari's brother. What you don't know is Gandhari was cursed with a destiny which would have killed her first husband immediately after the marriage. To ward off this curse, her father King Subala from the Gandhara dynasty got her married off to a goat and then killed the goat after the wedding. This was a secret only known to the Gandharas. But as luck would have it, a few years after Gandhari's marriage to Dhritarashtra, the latter got to know about this hidden secret and was infuriated, feeling cheated by Gandhara family. In a fit of rage, he imprisoned his father-in-law, King Subala, and his 100 sons and threw them into a big, dark cave. He wanted to let them slowly perish to death. Such was his animosity towards the Gandhara family. And to ensure that it becomes a slow but a certain death, he allotted only a handful of rice to them a day, a handful of rice to the 101 prisoners. Inevitably, everyone started slowly getting weak and then gradually dying. While it seemed impossible to escape the situation, King Subala came up with a plan. He advised everyone to pass over the handful of rice to the wittiest of all, Shakuni. At least if one gets to eat a handful of rice on a daily basis, he will survive. while the others started to die in the dark pit, which became overwhelmed with the unbearable stench of feces, urine, human decay, and death, King Shubala made Shakuni promise to avenge upon the Kaurava dynasty. She took a short pause to catch her breath before continuing again. After a few days, when King Shubala realized that even he was about to die, he requested King Dhritarashtra to forgive them and to accept Shakuni. He in turn promised that Shakuni would serve as the loyal guardian of the 100 Kaurava brothers and always be faithful to them. The king agreed to the dying man's last words and decided to accept Shakuni into his family. Shakuni had seen his brothers and father perish in the dark confinement amidst filth and revenge. He knew his life was saved only to avenge upon the Kauravas. His father, just before dying, had gotten Shakuni's leg broken permanently so that it stays as a constant reminder of the duty that he had in hand, and thus began the tale of Shakuni and his devious means to ensure the battle of Mahabharata.
My God, Amrita, wow. Even though I've read the book, I just can't stop listening to it. And guys, if you want more of this, because I definitely do, then you know what you have to do. Grab your copies as described below. Amrita, tell us where can we find it again?
Amazon, you get all the links in the description below. Just search Amrita Dutta Hiraeth. Amazon is delivering globally, so irrespective of whichever part of the world you are in, you can get your copy. Thank you, guys.
Cool, fantastic. And we are coming back again. See you soon.